Hey guys, it's Backmarker, and today I want to start a bit of a new series called Getting Up to Pace. Basically, I'll take your guys' questions and concerns, or I'll make up my own, and I will address them in tutorial video form. Now, a bit of a disclaimer before we start. Please know that my name is Backmarker, and there's a reason for that. I am always about 1 to 3 seconds off the pace of someone like EmptyBox. So please take that into consideration when seeing how I drive and how I perform my laps. There is always room for improvement, and if you're getting times like me, you're definitely going to be middle of the pack. So with that said, let's get on to our first episode on aerodynamics. So here we are inside of iRacing with the very, very lovely looking and slightly newly released Dallara DW12. And this is what we're really going to use as an example for our Aero Push, because you'll mainly hear Aero Push when it comes to this car. Now, the reason you hear that all the time is because this car has two main distinguishing features that affect its aerodynamics. That big front wing right off the nose, which you can see on the Florida car on the right side of your screen, and then the big rear wing in the back, which you can see the number 6 is printed on my car in the front. These two features are your biggest, most valuable tools that you will be using to adjust your aerodynamics, and the things that will help you and hurt you the most when it comes to stability. Taking a closer look at the front wing, you can see that part of it is pointed downward, which is highly significant, because if you're driving in a car at about 60 miles per hour, give or take, it can be done at roughly any speed that is higher than, let's say 40 miles an hour. If you stick your hand out the window and you point your hand downward, you point the thumb of your hand toward the road, you'll notice that your hand does two things. One, it gets forced downward and it gets forced backwards. And these are the two main forces that come into play when we talk about downforce, which we won't touch on too much in this video because this one's about Aero Push. Downforce will become a factor later. However, it is incredibly important to an open wheel car and non-open wheel cars alike. However, you'll see a lot more aero put into open wheel cars and a lot more downforce put into open wheel cars. But we'll get into that in a later video. This front wing is significant though because it is the one that provides our Aero Push. This front wing is forcing those two front wheels down into the track at a very strengthful power thing. It's very strong. It's forcing those front wheels down very harshly into the track, and it's what keeps your car planted and what keeps your car turning. If this front wing didn't exist, we wouldn't have to worry about Aero Push, but at the same time, we wouldn't be taking corners very fast at all. Let's take a look as we come into turn 1 and we get passed by a car on the inside. As you can see right here, we're perfectly in line with him, and everything's fine. This is called slipstreaming. Basically, he is carving a giant hole in the air for us, and we are following right behind him, which is basically allowing our car to have less drag, because he is pushing all the air in front of us away, and therefore we are just taking advantage of the big gap in the air that he's made, which allows us to go faster. That's why at super speedways when you watch NASCAR, you'll see everybody lining up because the guy in the back is faster than the guy in the front. That's also the first steps to a slingshot. Basically, the guy in front punches a huge hole in the air for you. You use that to get a run behind him, and then you poke out at the last second to try and use that extra speed you have on him to get around him. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's the basics of a slingshot. However, if we progress the tape a little bit here, you'll notice that as we went into the turn, we had to cut out of the throttle a little bit, and that's because of Aero Push. Now let's explain what's going on when we talk about Aero Push. As you come through a turn, that slipstream effect is still acting on your car, and it actually is no longer beneficial to you. See, that front car is still punching a huge car-sized hole in the air for you, which is making you both go faster, but the problem is that front wing down there is using the air to force the front wheels into the track. The second you get behind the car in front of you and you use that big air gap that he created, all of the air that's on that front wing is now gone, and there's nothing left to push those front wheels into the track. And therefore the front wheels become light and the car no longer turns. And that's what gives you your Aero Push. Well guys, I hope you liked the video about Aero Push. If you want to learn more about downforce, aero loose, Aero Push, or anything aerodynamic related, stay tuned because I plan on making a very extensive series on aerodynamics, as I feel it's the most important part there is to open wheel racing. Aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, questions, or comments, please leave them in the comments below. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoy this final little tangle I had with Mark during this practice session. Mark was nice enough to let me use the footage that I gathered from this little session to make a tutorial regarding Aero Push. So thank you very much to Mark, and that said, thank you guys for watching, and stick with me, because I don't know how great this episode was, but I plan on making them better in the future. It was my first attempt, and I hope it was a good one. Alright guys, I hope you learned something today. Stay tuned, because I plan on talking about it a heck of a lot more. Take care, guys.